Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trek on Tuesday. It is the best kind of show. We are joined with James Lee, who is an Eagle Scout out of Troop 85. James Lee, we're talking all about your project today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me attend on this show.
We are so excited to have you on, James Lee. James Lee has a really interesting story, a really interesting project that is connected to his background. And you folks watching at home may have heard of something called the Adams Award. We're going to get into that a little bit too, just so you know. It's officially called the Glenn A. and Melinda W. Adams Service Project of the Year Award, sponsored by our good friend, the Adams, longtime contributors to scouting at all levels. It's part of the National Eagle Scout Association. We call it NISA, Gina, amongst us friends. And James Lee's project, it's a complicated process, and we're going to go through the different steps you go through throughout the show today. But the short version of the story is James Lee's project is one of 16 finalists for the National Eagle Scout of the Year Award, which is very, very cool. You know, Gina, I always tell folks, every Eagle Scout project is worthy, right? There's really no such thing as a bad Eagle Scout project. If you go through the process, you have an Eagle Scout guide, maybe who takes you through it, a mentor, you go through a process, you have learned something, you have accomplished something. The Adams Award is designed to recognize projects of really, really exceptional nature. And so excited to talk to James Lee about his project today.
Yeah, that's a good point, Aaron. The whole process of becoming the kind of scout who goes for Eagle to identifying a project to actually having it approved as your Eagle project, it gets vetted. So really, so many Eagle Scout projects are spectacular. So then we're getting down to these 16 finalists. These are just incredible projects. We don't need to tell you about it. James Lee, do you mind just overviewing what your project was and is?
I did a project that was I helped fundraise for 100,000 meals to give to the people of Milo, Haiti. So it was just, the first portion of the project was to fundraise and get to $35,000, which the original goal was only $15,000, but it just kind of really expanded as we started to talk to more and more people and do more and more fundraising, because people were really, really excited to help another community of people out. And it just really struck me because it just hits really at home, because I'm originally from Haiti. And I really wanted to impact the people of Milo, Haiti, in which that's how the 100,000 meals came to play. And that was just like the inspiration for me to do this project.
Yeah, I know, Aaron, you have a follow-up on and then how that ties in, but I just want to reemphasize those numbers. How many meals?
100,000 meals.
100,000, and you say $35,000 raised.
Yes.
I mean, that's incredible. I don't even know where I would begin if I was being tasked with either of those items. I'm just astounded right now. I can't wait to hear the backstory. Want to give a quick shout out. Rob says, one of the scouts, I think, Aaron, maybe was he in your Cub Scout?
He was in my Cub Scout pack, yes, when I was Cub Master many, many years ago. Yep.
Also a finalist. So pretty cool, in great company here as we're talking about James Lee's project.
Yes, definitely. And, James Lee, we've interviewed a lot of Eagle Scouts on our show over the years. One of the things I feel like a lot of them have in common is that their projects meant something to them personally, right? Mm-hmm. Like we have athletes who maybe do a sports related project or something like that. We have readers who do maybe a project for a library, right? Or something like that. Your project means something to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background? You were born in Haiti.
Yes, I was born in Haiti in 2008. And then there was an earthquake in 2010, which devastated the area. And I was taken to a hospital. And in about 2013 is when I met my now parents, Nathan and Mary Jesse. And they brought me over in 2013. And I think that just really, that stuck with me up till now, till my junior year in high school. And I think that really inspired me to do this project and really push for a project that does help with 100,000 meals and helps with so many people in this aspect.
Seeing those pictures is really incredible. You were such a cute kid. It's really cool to see your parents. I think your parents are nearby, and I think we'll invite them to join us in just a second, but it's cool to see them showing up in those photos as well. Obviously, this was something that was on your mind. I just mentioned that I was baffled at how do you even get started. So on that, I would love to know, what are the beginning stages of a project like this? What are the first things you had to do?
Well, it's really, with this kind of project, I feel like it's all about community. It's like making sure that you really, like, with social media and stuff like that, you can really blast that kind of stuff out there and get people more involved, and also going around and talking to different, like, churches or different boards or different community members, and getting them to spread the word out for you. And it just really amazes me that, like, it was just a really easy process to spread the word, and people were just jumped on the case of this project really quickly to help out. And that's how I feel about it. It's like, it's really all about the community that you can get gathered together to do this kind of project.
Yeah. So, and now correct me if I'm wrong, James Lee, the beginning stages of this project were, like you said, fundraising, which involves a lot of community outreach and things like that. And that all leads up to, was it just one event where they packed all of the supplies into shipping containers? I think we're going to get into a little more detail of that, but Eagle Scout project, it's a lot of work, James Lee. I'm not an Eagle Scout. I couldn't have done it when I was, how old are you right now, James Lee?
I am 16.
16. Okay. Good for you. I couldn't have done it when I was 15 or 16.
Aaron, we were saying before the show, a lot of times when we talk to these finalists, they're preparing for college. So yeah, James Lee, just a junior.
Yes, just a junior in high school. Exactly. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of community outreach. It's a lot of talking to strangers, asking people for favors, things like that. I'm just curious, James Lee, as you went through that process leading up to that big day where they pack all the meals together, what was the hardest part about it for you?
I think probably the hardest part was probably just, like, realizing that, like, it's just it's an impact, but yet there's still work to be done. I definitely think that's, like, you do this kind of project, and, like, it makes a big impact. You know that there's other people that are going to want to do it as well. So it's just a matter of, like, how people see you. So, like, you have to hold yourself up to a higher standard and know how to lead people. And so leading this big group of people and giving them instruction how to do this kind of packing was probably definitely the hardest section of this project.
That's a lot of people. What's really cool about Eagle Projects is it's putting young people in positions where they're leading large groups. Oftentimes there's adults in those groups. Usually there are adults in there and we could see them. I'm really just almost speechless from your story, which is not helpful during a live video. Just want to read some of the amazing comments rolling in. NISA, National Eagle Scout Association, says, keep soaring, James Lee. Such an important, impactful project I'm seeing. Keep doing what you do best. Really great work. What an amazing, impactful project. Wow, that's an amazing story. Congratulations on this amazing project. Yeah, the story, you're so humble. It's easy to breeze past. Your life started in Haiti. You've experienced a worldwide tragedy at a very young age, and you were able to revisit it in a way with this project, which is just incredible. I don't know how you raise that much money as a junior in high school. Can you talk to us a little bit about fundraising? How did that work?
I did. So one of the things I did was I sold tickets for a pulled pork meal. And I just went around town and did that. And you'd be surprised how many people just, like, if they didn't want a pulled pork meal, they just gave me money for the project instead. And that was a big aspect. And then going around to churches and different organizations, they jumped on the case immediately and gave me money towards the project there. And then I'd have people I've had people give thousands of dollars towards this project, which is, you don't see that very often, which is just the truly shocking part about the fundraising that I had to do. And it took a lot of people skills to do that kind of talking in front of other people. And I think that you just learn how to adjust to that. And you have to learn how to talk to people, which is amazing skill that I've been taught how to do, I feel like.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things about scouting in general and an Eagle Scout project in specific, is that you have to learn to talk to grownups, right? You're doing it right now, and you're doing an amazing job. Although I'm not really a grown-up, Gina is, but you get used to talking to grownups. You get used to asking questions. Some people are maybe going to say no, right?
Yeah.
You've used the word community a couple of times, James Lee. I feel like your project, obviously, it benefited the community of Haiti, where you're from. I feel like it might have benefited your own community where you live right now in, what's the name of the town again? I'm sorry. Moweaqua. Yes. Can you tell me how it felt to you to get that kind of response when you ask people to come volunteer, when you ask people to donate money? How does it feel to have, how many people showed up for that day?
I'm trying to think. It was about 400 people.
400 people. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, so how does that make you feel, James Lee, to get that kind of response?
It was truly shocking. Like I definitely, going back to that day when I saw that many people in that room, it was just a big, like, you get people that tell you that they're going to be there, but you don't always know, like, they tell you they're going to be there, but that doesn't mean they're going to show up on that date. So for them to put it in their calendar and to actually commit to this project and show up and get these meals packed in 4 hours, which is truly astonishing. And I still get asked to this day if I'm going to do another packathon, which is, crazy to me, because it's like, oh, we just packed 100,000 meals and people are already ready to jump into another hoop and do another one. So
that's the thing about food. It goes, but it's kind of incredible. Now you're probably seen as a resource for this in your community, which is really cool. And, you've talked about your ability to speak to peers and adults and everybody and be able to approach them, ask for money, ask for donations. Those are skills that are going to serve you for life. I think you probably know that. And really, and not to put you on the spot, but you're talking to a ton of people right now and you're doing a really, really great job with this. So I'm going to fast forward the story because I know there was a lot of work between where we're talking about and when this project was completely done. But when it was completed, the project itself, how did it feel?
It felt really good. I definitely slept better at night after I was done. And once we found out that it got delivered, it was definitely a great feeling at that point. And it's just been truly amazing and shocking to this point. We didn't really expect it to be this big, per se. I mean, because for me, I just felt like I was doing something that should be done for another country and for another community that I'm tied to. And it just made a very big impact in my own life, and I think in a lot of different people's lives too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these Eagle Scout projects, they don't just, obviously they benefit the recipients, the beneficiary. I think everybody wins. They benefit the volunteers too. What a great feeling. What a great community event to get 400 people out there. Where was that event held, James Lee?
It was we actually held it at our high school.
At a high school, yep.
Which that was a process of getting that signed off so that we could do that too. But it was really,
yeah, amazing. That's just another thing that, right, you don't think about when you're organizing a project. Where are we going to do it? How do we get permission? Who do you go talk to for that? What kind of forms do you have to fill out? I mean, it was tricky sometimes for me to get a Cub Scout meeting at my son's elementary school. I can't imagine organizing something like this. What was that like, James?
It really, when you have I learned very quickly when you have a community of people that I'm surrounded by, and when the board knows who you are and your school knows who you are, and just different towns already know of, just because of my adoption story and stuff like that, it really made it probably a more simple process than what it seems. I mean, it was just all a matter of, like, they just needed more an explanation, because a lot of people just didn't know what a packathon was at that time. So just the explanation of that really helped with the way of getting everything signed off and, finding the right organization to help, guide people when we were doing it. So, I mean, that was just the big part, is just communication, really.
Honestly, I'm not ashamed to say, but until we started doing these interviews around the time of the Adams Awards, I didn't know that some Eagle Project benefited people internationally. I hear so many about super hyper local community and sometimes state, sometimes, maybe national, but not international. So it's really cool and unique to highlight stories like this. But, there's an element to the story that's still so community based, because you're part of your community, obviously, and this is tied to your origin. So pretty cool. I'm fast forwarding again. Okay. The Eagle Project's just a small part of you becoming an Eagle Scout. How does it feel to be an Eagle Scout? Are there any big challenges you could point to in the process of that journey?
It's almost like being an Eagle Scout feels like it's just a step. Like, I feel like there's a lot more that comes with it. There's a lot of leadership that comes with becoming an Eagle Scout and inspiring younger people to want to strive to become an Eagle Scout. Like the younger scouts, or because right now I'm working with second and third graders for scouting wise, and just I get to work with them with the games and just being able to be a role model for them, showing them that it can be done. Is just a very big thing. And I would say probably the toughest part is sticking with it, because you see when you get to be 17 or 18 years old or a senior in high school, it's come down to crunch time, and a lot of people can't get that done. So I see it as, if you can get it done as early as you can, but still work in your community after you get it, that's when the impact is really big, because you can still get those merit badges that there's still merit badges out there to get, because I don't even have all the merit badges.
Yeah, you were going to work on chess, right? Next.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, we applaud you for staying so hyper involved after you've achieved Eagle. That's incredible. The younger kids you work with must think you're the coolest. You know who else thinks you're the coolest is our commenters. I think you might recognize some of these names. Jennifer Dunnicky, proud to call him family. Your cousin out there.
She lives right across from my school.
Very cool. Okay. Oh, okay. I think that I saw somebody else maybe that you know. I want to read this. Greg Rao, very proud of this young man enjoying part of his journey.
Yes, he was my board. He actually passed my Eagle Scout project. He approved it. So and he was the one that nominated me for this award, for the local award. And then it just got bigger and bigger after that. So.
Very good. Yes. Aaron, before you ask your next question, sorry, just a few more comments. David Ehrlich's watching, amazing project and story. Scouting alumni says, what a great example of Scout oath and law. Kaylee Watkins, way to go, James Lee. Totally agree. We might be watching a future Scouting America fundraiser who will help expand the impact of the organization next year. Yeah, you never know the impact. That's very cool. And Don says, do it as early as you can is great advice for young people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do hear the occasional story, James, and when I say occasional, I mean all the time, of people doing it when they're 17 3/4 years old, right? You have to have it finished by the time you turn 18. That happens a lot. So glad to see you knocking it out early. And I would also add, there's a reason why we don't call them former Eagle Scouts, right? Once you're an Eagle Scout, you're an Eagle Scout. So it's really cool to see you and hear that you are, using those leadership skills, helping out with younger scouts. That is great. You mentioned a second ago, James Lee, that people in your community know you because of your story, your origin, things like that. I would like to add a couple of more folks to the broadcast. Your parents, I think, are in the room. They probably know a thing or two about your origin story. We would love to have them on real quick. If Mary and Nathan could join our show. Look, we've got 2 seats reserved for them. Here they come. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We appreciate it. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Doing good. Great. I was wondering if you could fill our viewers in real quick on some of the aspects of James Lee's origin stories where I know, Mary, you were there. Can you maybe tell us the story of how you first met James Lee and how that all came about?
Yes. So I had been traveling I'm a physical therapist, and I'd been traveling with an orthopedic surgery team once a year. We'd spend a week or two in Haiti at a hospital just to hopefully help out some. And so the year of the earthquake, 2010, my group wouldn't arrive down there until about 10 months later. So I would meet him after he had been living at the hospital that time. And at that point, they were set up in large army tents, about 50 people in a tent. And so that had become his family. He didn't have anyone else with him. And there was just a few really left from the earthquake, people who really had nowhere to go, or their situations were just so tragic, they still were needing care. So the reason, of course, James Lee attracted a lot of the volunteers down there, just with his personality.
I've seen those photos. My God,
cute.
Yes.
Yeah. But he did have a pretty major spinal deformity. He had congenital kyphosis, and So he really had something that was pretty visible, and everyone agreed that if that didn't get addressed, he would have a lot of problems later on in life, probably even paralysis. So it was just a big concern. And so when I came home, I was telling my husband about it, and we agreed that we wanted to work on a medical visa and get him here and see if we could make that better. And then the more we discussed it and realized we didn't really have anything to take him back to, we thought we should go ahead and bring him and see if we couldn't make his life a little better here. So that was the start, and it took about 2 years and 2 months to get him here, and we're able to get the medical care he needed, and he's up straight and pain-free. So
yeah, I know he's got a baseball game here in another couple hours, so we know that he is pretty active. That is so cool. When it came time to enroll James Lee in scouting, Nathan, did you push that? How did that come about?
Well, I didn't push it much, but there was a lot of kids that wanted to do it. So yeah, we did it. But she was the one that she was the den mom.
Okay.
So
well, I think he brought a flyer home from school and talked about going camping and shooting BB guns. And so that was all we heard about for a while. Yep. And so he just wore us down there at the beginning.
Man, that's a classic story.
Yeah,
y'all's story as a family, I honestly didn't know that background. Incredible. It's kind of hard to think that wasn't just meant to be. What are the odds that it's just, again, I'm totally speechless, not helpful on a live video. And again, full circle, you're about to go play baseball. You more than upright. Very good.
Yes. It's awesome. Again, for those of you who aren't familiar necessarily with the Adams Award, it's a long process. It starts at the council level. So if anybody here is watching who thinks they might know of a worthy project, it starts at your local council. You go from there to the service territory, as we call them, and then you become one of the national 16 finalists, which is where James Lee is right now. How did you guys hear about the Adams Award originally, and where did that idea come from to nominate him?
Well, it was really my advancement chair leader, the one who advanced my project, or allowed me to do my project. He really pushed that and told us about that and helped get that on the road, basically, because we had no idea that this award was really a thing until he brought it up to us after we got the process of starting my project.
Very cool. Gina?
I have one question.
Yes,
question. Sorry, because
ahead.
I'm curious. We've got a comment from Rachel saying, proud of you, Jay. You have a bright future in nutrition.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
You got the whole family watching. We love it.
That is great. Yes. I'm really excited, guys. The Adams Award project, Glenn and Melinda Adams are the names of the folks who spearhead that. Glenn is a longtime former director of the National Eagle Scout Association, a distinguished Eagle Scout himself. It just so happens, guys, that Glenn and Melinda Adams are actually on the call right now. I'm going to ask behind the scenes Brian to pull them up. They've been waiting very, very patiently behind the scenes. Let's let Brian punch all the right buttons. There they are. Amazing. Amazing. Hello, Glenn, Melinda. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are you guys? So good to see you, James Lee, and good to meet your parents too.
yes.
Yeah, we're doing great on this end.
We are doing great. We've had a wonderful conversation with James Lee. I know Glenn and your wife, Melinda, you guys are the ones who select the national winner of the National Eagle Scout Project of the Year. Glenn, do you have anything that you would like to say to our friend James Lee here?
Sure. I thought I could mention a few things about some of the background of how the Adams Award came about. And then we'll talk a little bit about your exciting project. I know it's already been covered in a lot of detail, but kind of the genesis of this is we have 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter, and all 3 of our sons are Eagle Scouts. It's why the pin that you see on Melinda's shirt is an gold eagle, because I kind of thought, mother of 3 Eagle Scouts, and Mary, I understand you were kind of a driving force. I don't think they would have been Eagle Scouts if it hadn't been for Melinda. She was the den leader. She was the one who pushed and was always making sure that they were ready to go camping. And we had had a great experience. And we have a daughter, and our daughter, of course, could not become an Eagle Scout at that time because it's before Scouting America made the decision to change the rules, which I was very supportive of. And our daughter, though, after she got out of college, actually went to work for the Boy Scouts of America at that time, before it was called Scouting America.
Mhm.
She worked in a council in Kansas City called the Heart of America Council. So she was a district executive and a senior district executive, and loved her time as a professional scouter. Now, as was mentioned, I'm a volunteer and have done everything from assistant scoutmaster to scoutmaster, council president, on the national board. But the greatest job I had was being the president of the National Eagle Scout Association, working with the professionals at NISA, in particular, my good friend Bill Steele, who was the former director. So the genesis of the Adams Award stemmed back from my experience and Melinda's experience in working with potential Eagles in our troop, and some of the phenomenal projects that they did. And our troop was known to really push hard for a Life Scout, and to say, look, how about taking it to the next level? You want to do this, but how about if you added that on? So it was a very exciting time. We enjoyed it. So when I was president of NISA, I went to Bill Steele one day and I said, we know, because we mention it in every Eagle Court of Honor, how significant Eagle Scout service projects are. We also know that in today's age, it's one of the hardest things that a Life Scout does to earn the Eagle is the service project. So do we have any idea what the actual metrics are? How many hours are given to communities in the nation for these service projects? And Bill said, no, we don't have any idea. And I said, well, how can we figure that out? What can we do to determine how many hours there are? And he goes, oh, I can make that happen. I said, well, really? What would you do? He said, we just add it to the Eagle application. James Lee, you've seen it, right? You've got to put in the name of your project, and below it, you have to put in the total number of service hours. Well, the first year we did that, I think it was 2010, if memory serves me correctly, we totaled up all the hours after the end of the year. It was over 10 million hours of service to communities and the nation, and different charitable organizations and religious institutions. And it just knocked our socks off. And Melinda and I were talking about this, and I was telling her all about it. And we said, well, what can we do to help raise the profile of these Eagle projects? Because they're so cool. And we said, well, why don't we endow scholarships and have a national competition and select winners, both as you have mentioned, both the council level, now at the territory level, and at the national level. And we started that, I can't remember how long ago, probably 2012 maybe, so 13 years ago or so. And in the past 13 years, the projects that we have seen have been absolutely extraordinary. Generally, what we find is a scout that has so much passion, they don't let anything stand in their way of the completion of that project. And that's really exciting to us to see how they just make it happen. We were talking a little bit about international projects like the one that James Lee did. The very first winner of the Adams Award was an international project. And interestingly enough, of the projects that were submitted this year at the council service territory level, 3 of them were international projects. So we always welcome those and think that they're very, very important. James Lee, I'd say that one of the things that I found most significant about your project, besides the fact that you raised $35,000, everybody would think that's maybe unusual. We see projects that raise sometimes over $100,000. So the money is important, but what's really important is hours, right? Yeah. Service hours and seeing scouts involved. Melinda loves to see fellow scouts involved. So our whole family is involved in the selection of the national winner. And the fact that you had over 1,200 hours of service, we had never in all of our time seen a project that involved 454 volunteers, I believe. And that's in a community, your community, I think, has around 2,000 people in it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
We all things considered, we thought your project was really, really exceptional this year, and
Congratulations, you're the winner.
you're the national winner.
Thank you so much.
Ah, wow, that's a first.
We are so honored to report that James Lee Jesse is the National Eagle Scout Project of the Year winner. Congratulations, man. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm just shocked.
We've never done this before, so
Nope.
it's really, really cool to get to see this. Aaron and I have literally never gotten to see somebody awarded this before. I mean, amazing.
Well, we are thrilled for you, James. We're thrilled for your family. You deserve it. Glenn, maybe before we let you go, you could just talk about what it means to you to read through these projects, the 16 finalists. I mean, you've been around here for a while. How does it make you feel to be part of this and to be able to present it to a scout like James Lee?
It is, and I'll let, if Melinda would like to add some things, it's the most humbling thing I do every year. I read these projects and literally half the time you're teared up going, I can't believe they did this. This is unbelievable. All the adults told them they couldn't do it. There was no way they could raise this kind of money. There was no way they could execute on a project like this. And Aaron, you mentioned, 17 3/4. When I was Scoutmaster, the latest I ever had a scout sit for a Scoutmaster conference, which is the final thing you do to get signed off on, was 11:50 p.m. on a Friday night before he was turning 18 in 10 minutes. So I do that. And I will tell you something, that's a pretty common theme among these projects. And that is because, one, the idea takes an extraordinary amount of time to come to fruition. It is not at all unusual to see these projects take 2 years or more to be done, from first idea through to completion. So, that's really typical. And I'll tell you something else that we see is the engagement of the then Eagles that work on these quality of projects. They are rock star scouts. Don't let it go to your head, James Lee, but they're rock star scouts. They're involved in their communities. They're involved in their schools. They're involved in athletics. And it's one of the things that I think we as a movement, the scouting movement, should be proud of. And that is, our superstars aren't one hit wonders. It isn't all they do. They do so many things so well, and they're very well-rounded humans, and they are future leaders of this nation. And you make us so proud, James Lee, and your parents who have supported you so well.
Congratulations.
Very well deserved. Our audience is throwing out the congratulations. Excellent. Congratulations, James Lee. Congratulations. What an incredible story and project. Well done. Absolutely true. I think it's safe to say we know you're going to go far. Continue to take yourself care of yourself. I'm laughing right now because you got to get your head right for baseball. Too funny. Aaron, should we ask him the $1 million question?
I think it is time. Yes. Gina, you do the honors.
Okay. Thank you for letting me. Okay. What advice do you have out there for people watching, for scouts watching who are on the trail to Eagle, who are maybe just beginning their scouting journey? Give the scouts your advice.
I would just say never give up, because it is a hard process. It takes a very long time. And as we said, like with the volunteer hours, it's a very hard thing to get. And I think that if you just keep working, I think it will pay off eventually, because it's not something you can just get done in 6 months. I feel like it's a very long process and it takes a very long time.
Yeah, it's a long process. It's not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be an Eagle Scout. But that's not. It's not how it works. It's challenging. And James Lee, we are so proud of you. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks to your parents. I'm proud again to say that James Lee Jesse is the winner of the Glenn A. and Melinda W. Adams Service Project of the Year Award. Let that sink in, young man. Good job. And then get ready to go catch 9 innings or 7 innings of baseball or whatever you have to do. Glenn and Melinda, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This was so nice of you to come on with us.
It's our privilege and honor to be here with you guys. And you're right. It's the first time we've ever done it this way. Usually I'm just making a phone call. This was a lot more fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. We did it. Gina and I, it was an honor for us to be here with you guys. Nathan and Mary, thank you so much for sitting down with us to share your side of the story. Thank you all for watching at home. So many good comments. James, you're going to have to go back when we're done here and look at all the comments. People are very, very excited and proud of you, as are we. Thank you all so much for watching at home. We will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. So long, everybody. Bye, James Lee. Bye, Glenn and Melinda. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.